like you talk to people and they're like, wait, you're not going to be working for a whole year? It's like, no, like who sold you? And by the way, we know why. I mean, the way everything's set up is that people to be productive citizens, and they're working and they're contributing, all those kind of things. But you actually don't have to always be working. And I think the reason why we do that is we build our own prison. So, you make X amount of money and then you spend X amount of money on the rent, and then you create all your expenses to almost, after savings, whatever, almost to equal what your income is. And now, if the income's gone, you're done.
Yeah.
And now you're prisoned to the job, which is fine if that's like what you want to be doing, but it isn't necessary.
Yeah. That's very common in the sales industry. Like one person sells a big deal, they make a huge commission, and then all of a sudden they upgrade their lifestyle to match this new amount of money that I make every month, every year, and then that next big sale that they were expecting to come in doesn't come in. I mean, so now they basically, like you said, they build their own prisons. Yeah. And so anyway, we just made some calls. Yeah. We made some calls. We're not going to build our own prisons. We're gonna have some freedom. We're gonna get some capital. Yeah. Charlie Munger, who is Warren Buffett's business partner, always said that the first 100,000 is the hardest. Yeah. And I had my fucking focus on that since I started working, since I started listening to personal development, since I started knowing who guys like Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett were, and that was really empowering for me. And I that was the illusion I created, is that first 100,000. Yeah. And Ian's helped me out a lot, because I even kept saying to myself, like, as we were making money in sales and we weren't spending anything. We were hardly spending anything. The only thing we spent money on was, like, we went to Electric Forest and we went to Amsterdam and Europe, like, we did travel. And, like, I was like, okay, now that I'm at 100, I'll make that next mark, and I'll just, once I get there, then we can start doing the things we want to do. Yeah. And even I was pushing that off for myself, because I want to be a personal development speaker, and I want to support youth mental health education and men's mental health education. But I wasn't pouring all of my time and energy to those things, because I felt like I needed to be making a certain amount of money and saving a certain amount of money and hitting this arbitrary number in my bank account. Yeah. I
read a book by Ray Dalio. Principles. He's the founder of Bridgewater? Bridgewater. Anyway, some investment company. Anyway, super Robbins successful. Friends. And he said that once you have enough money, like, make the amount of money that you need to do what you want, and then do what you want. Whereas I think so many people are just, they just set the goal to another arbitrary mark on money, and having a number in the account or those, like, that isn't do anything. Like, I think there's just this constant pushing off. Like almost like a toxic level of delayed gratification. Yeah. Delayed gratification is necessary. Yeah. You need to make plans, and you got to sacrifice. Meal prep. You got to meal prep. You got to exercise. You got to do things so you can get things later. Obviously, that's important. But I think it's kind of sad in that it's just taken over everything, where it's just grind, and never get there, never arrive. Just push it off, and tomorrow never comes.
Buddy, nosotros aquí.
Yeah, nosotros aquí. We here.
Here in Spanish. That philosophy makes sense to me. We listened to so one of the things we were able to do as a group is we were able to go do a road trip to British Columbia this summer, because we weren't working. It never would have been possible. The audio book we were listening to was Busting Loose to the Money Game. And part of that, we enrolled a friend, Mosin. And we have a lot of friends that are very, like, entrepreneurial, very smart, very driven. They can make money. And this guy, Mosin, listened to the audiobook as well, Busting Loose to the Money Game. And we saw each other last weekend. And he was saying to me, after he listened to that audiobook, he found a quote that talked about this millionaire who said his guru was asking him a question. And the question was, do you feel wealthy? Yeah. And he was a millionaire, clearly wealthy guy. And he said, no. And the guy said, why? And he said, because I don't have a private jet. Yeah. And so once I have a private jet, then I'll feel wealthy, then I'll be happy. Yeah. And then Mosin said to me, then the next thing he heard was the guru was asking a billionaire, do you feel wealthy? And the man said, no. Yeah. And he said, why? And the man said, because my private jet only has 6 seats. Yeah. And so it's just like, right, man. He's like, it'll never be enough money. Yeah, it's just, it's constant pushing over the horizon.
like when you're in elementary school, let me just get to high school.
Yeah. Oh, that's so important for young people.
It's like when they're in elementary school, I can just get to high school. When they're in high school, if I just got to get to university, and then when you're in university, it's like, man, I just got to graduate. I just got to get that job. Okay, I gotta find a partner, because that's what you're supposed to do. Oh, it's 30. It's time to log. It's based on these time structures. And then, I can't do what I want. I gotta get to retirement, so I gotta save, and it's just, and then you get to the end, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
And
how'd we get here?
Yeah. And it's like, well, I've made it. It's like, made what? Like, if the pushing off is scary. I've seen it myself.